Welcome to Dark Truths, Religion Uncovered, where we compare ancient immediacy against modern postponement, examining what shifts when obedience learns to wait. Tonight, we delve into a theological fracture that often goes unrecognized as rebellion, the moment obedience became conditional on readiness rather than a straightforward response. In ancient theology, obedience was immediate because God's authority was inherently recognized as real and present. When God spoke, hesitation was on to discernment. It was defiance. Abraham departed upon command, not after deliberation. Israel moved with the cloud, not when it suited them. Prophets delivered messages when sent, rather than waiting for a favorable audience. Obedience required trust, not emotional alignment or ideal conditions. Delay was perilous. It often indicated attachment. Waiting was frequently a form of resistance. Scripture frames delayed obedience as disobedience, as time reveals our true loyalties. The longer one postpones obedience, the more personal terms become negotiated. Yet modern belief frequently interprets delay as wisdom. We wait until we feel prepared, until circumstances become favorable, until we gain clarity, and until costs seem manageable. We give spiritual significance to hesitation, labeling it as discernment. We cloak our fear in the language of patience. While this may seem responsible, ancient theology would view it as avoidance. Scripture does not honor delayed obedience. Consider Saul, who waited for a sacrifice and lost his kingdom. Jonah, whose delay brought chaos. Or Israel, which wandered for decades due to hesitance towards entering the promised land. Delay always brings consequences, not because God is impatient, but because obedience molds our present alignment. Modern belief often resists immediate obedience, relinquishes control, and does not permit time for preparation or safety nets. It requires trust. As a result, belief reshapes itself. Obedience becomes oriented toward the future, where I will follow when. Replaces I will follow. However, Scripture does not invite conditional obedience. God's commands are not mere suggestions pending our readiness. They are calls to trust beyond certainty. Ancient believers recognize that immediacy sustained the momentum of faith. Obedience acted before fear could solidify into resistance. In contrast, modern belief tends to wait for fear to dissipate before taking action, but fear seldom resolves itself. Delay allows fear to grow deeper, and the longer obedience is deferred, the more burdensome it feels. Eventually, obedience can seem impossible without a crisis pushing one to act. Ancient theology taught that obedience was a training of the will. Action reshaping desire. Waiting, however, can reinforce resistance. Today, many reverse this dynamic, hoping their desire will change before acting. Yet, Scripture maintains that action fosters desire. Faith must move first, with understanding following. When obedience is delayed, faith enters stagnation, conviction dull, and urgency disappears, making what was once a command feel optional. Tonight's truth is indeed sobering. A faith that postpones obedience has begun to favor comfort over trust. God does not issue commands to test our future intentions. Rather, He reveals them to mold our present allegiance. Immediate obedience is not recklessness, but reverence, acknowledging that God's timing surpasses our own. Ancient believers obeyed promptly because they trusted God's authority over their own sense of readiness. Yet modern belief often prioritizes perceived readiness over divine authority. But readiness is fickle, authority is not. We conclude with a question that ancient theology would pose to modern belief without compromise. What acts of obedience have you postponed? Claiming wisdom that God has already commanded. Thank you for tuning in to Dark Truths, Religion Uncovered. We invite you to share your thoughts below. Has obedience been postponed into disobedience? Or do you still recognize how to respond promptly when God speaks? Don't forget to subscribe, like, comment, and share this episode. Until next time.